Welcome back to the Parrot Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra. And in today's episode, we have our first bird dad that's going to be joining us. Now, this is Bean's dad, and you might know Bean the Conure from Instagram. He is famous for his awesome dance moves, and his dad, Mike. So today we're going to chat with Mike and find out a little bit more about Bean, but also what it's like to be a bird dad, to have a pineapple conure, and so much more. So happy holidays, and tune in for this fun episode. Hi, Mike.
Hello. Hi.
You're so festive. I love it.
Oh, we got things. We got things for this podcast. We're very festive right now.
And it's going to come out just in time for Christmas. So perfect.
This is perfect. This is the merry edition. All right.
Oh my God. So how are you? Hi, Bean. It's so nice to meet you. Mia's here, but you probably can barely see her because she's in my hair.
Oh, there she is. Good. We're good. Can't complain. Yeah, just really excited to do the podcast. Like, it's funny. I've been waiting so long. Like, man, when is someone gonna ask me to do a podcast? Like, we've been doing numbers. We've been getting out there. When is someone gonna ask us to do a podcast? And now we're here. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
happy.
You know
Yeah.
what? I actually don't think that there's any other like parrot podcasts that are active. So it's really fun to connect with all these different parrot owners and talk about birds.
Yeah, totally. And it's fun. Another thing. So me and my wife were like, we're driving to the mall and it's like 40 minutes. Like, let's throw the podcast on just to see what it's like. And like everyone's like like very fluent in like birds and parrots. And I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna talk about. Like me and being dance all the time. Like but yeah, no, I mean there's a lot of interesting people on this podcast, and I think it'll help a lot to people that want to get parrots or even to expand their knowledge for sure. So it's
Yeah,
cool.
and
I like it. It's really
it's
cool.
great to get insight from different types of people because even if you don't like know a lot about nutrition or a lot about other topics, there's always something that you can share that's going to be beneficial to anybody who's thinking about getting a bird or just got a bird or has birds and they want to relate to somebody or learn something. I mean, every time I talk to somebody, I learn something new and I incorporate that in for Mia. So her life is always getting enriched with every episode as well.
Yeah, totally. It's cool. I like what you're doing, and I hope it goes on for a long time for sure.
Thank you. Well,
You're
I'm so
welcome.
excited to have you on the podcast. So let's get started with you telling us a little bit about Bean, what species Bean is, how old is he, and anything else you want to share about you and Bean.
Yeah, sure. So Bean is a pineapple conure. He's a green cheek. He's 4. He just turned 4 years old
Happy
a few days ago.
birthday!
Happy birthday, good man. So yeah, so he's a pineapple green cheek, and how we met was we went to the bird store. So actually, let me back up. I was gonna adopt a rock pebbler parrot. I don't know if you're familiar with those. Yeah,
No.
yeah, they're like crazy. Or you could type in regent parrot as well. They're really
Oh, is it
cool.
this?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Interesting. I've
Yes.
never seen these.
Neither have I. So my my father-in-law, he just like it was just at the bird store. So he bought it, and he I guess they realized that that parrot was not for them. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it definitely, because I've had parrots my whole life. We've had, cockatiels and parakeets. This was gonna be a big bird, but I was like, I could do it. So we were gonna do it. It fell through. So I was so in the bird zone. I was like, I got to get another bird because I haven't had one for like 10 years at this point. I was like, I have to get another bird. So me and my wife, we went to a bird store, and all the birds were like freaking out, right? But Bean was just sitting in the corner eating his millet, 1 foot, so small. I'm like, let me see that guy. So puts it in my hand. He bites the heck out of me. And I'm like, that's him. I got to do it. That's him. So it was love at first bite, and yeah, it's been history ever since. And the first day it was crazy. So like he's got a massive cage in the living room, but this was the cage that he came like we bought, and the door was open, and it was like 5 o'clock at night. So we've had him for like 4 hours, and he comes out of his cage and just hops on my knee, and he's never left since. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
cute.
There was no warm up or anything. He It just took him like, yeah, like 4 or 5 hours, and he was like the second day he was like cuddling, sleeping in my hands, and yeah, I feel like mine and bean experience is like different than other parrot owners. Like when they first get birds, like there's a big break, like a break-in period. Like everyone's kind of walking on eggshells, kind of learning. Everyone's limits, and he just doesn't even have any, so he just hopped out and was chilling. So it was
That's
cool.
so cute. Well, I do
Yeah.
think that every bird is different and every bird like reacts differently. And I had the same thing with Mia. Like she warmed up to me very quickly when we got her. She flew out and she flew straight to my head and we became friends. And now we're in love. She's my little daughter. So I really
Yeah.
think it depends on the bird because they do have their own personalities and they are their own little beings.
Yeah, totally, totally. She's just hiding back there.
Yeah. She's sleeping. She
That's
does
funny.
this on every podcast. She just loves when I'm on Zoom calls or when I'm
Yeah.
chatting or when I'm working, and this is what she does. The best is when she does the beak crunches.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah. Going back to your point, being their own little beans, I think so. I get a lot of DMs like, "Oh my God, I need a bird because Bean's so chill. He always hangs out in your hand," and I'm like, that is the worst reason to get a bird
Yeah.
because Bean is cute.
Yeah.
Um, like this has been like 4 years. Like I put 4 years in this every single day. Like it just didn't happen overnight. Like everything he does is because little by little by little by little. And I tell people, I'm like, that's the worst idea to get a bird. I don't think you should get a bird because you think you see a cute bird on Instagram. It's the That's the worst reason. Like you have to read. I usually tell people take like 4 months and read and watch videos like Green Birdie Brigade, Pluto Birdie, all the big accounts, and you'll see like it's not all glitz and glamour. Like you
Yeah.
only see a 10-second clip of me and Bean interacting, but you didn't just see him ripping me apart for like 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So that's I always try to like iterate that to people.
Yeah, I totally
Always.
agree because I get the same messages like Mia's so cute and Mia's so tame and she's so
Yeah.
adorable. And I've even had someone get a turquoise conure and name it Mia. And I'm like, just because you get a turquoise conure, it doesn't mean it's going to be exactly like her
Yeah.
because like we're talking about, every bird is different. Every bird has
Yeah.
their own personality. Every bird also has their own history. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can't expect that the birds that you see on Instagram are the birds that you're going to get, especially because we're sharing the funny moments and we're sharing the
Yeah.
cute moments and all that stuff. Sometimes we also show the real moments, but this is why
Mm-hmm.
I also started the podcast because I want people to understand what it's really like to have a bird rather than just those 10-second clips that you see
Yeah.
that, oh,
Yeah.
they're so cute. Because there's behavioral issues, there's biting.
Mm-hmm.
You need to give them a lot of attention and time and enrichment and love and routine and all of these different things. And like you were saying, you need to do your research. You need to watch other videos and really research the species that you want and take the time to understand what kind of commitment this is, because they also
Mm-hmm.
have a way longer lifespan than dogs or
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah. Totally. And yeah, to that point, it's just you got to do your research. It's not easy. I will say that to anyone listening, it's another job. Like when I first got Bean, it was the week before everything shut down for COVID, and then everything shut down, and he was with me while I was working from home. I don't even know, 10 hours a day out of his cage, just on his little play gym, watching me. Like he's picked up like weird mannerisms from me. Like I guess like when people would call like by the work phone, and be like, and like that's he huffs now. Like they pick up every little thing of like, yeah, they are
Mia
little
says her
sponges.
name exactly the way that I say it. And if she wants my
Yeah.
attention, she'll be like, Mia, Mia,
Yep.
Mia. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, I'm coming because I know that you're calling me, but you should say, Mama, Mama.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like Bean. So we have two pit bulls too, and he now he learns like to get them to come over to the cage. He'll click the same way with like make kissing noises for them to come over. I'm like, Bean, that is not good. Do not have them come to your cage. But
They're
yeah,
so
and then
smart.
yeah, they're so smart. He's doing really good right now. He usually like anything he sees on the computer, like he tries to attack. So I'm
Oh,
very
really?
yeah,
That
he's
means he
doing really
likes
good.
me and Mia.
Yeah.
So I actually saw that you did a reel and you were saying how a lot of people ask you what it's like to have a conure. And I know you showed a clip and he was kind of like walking all over your face and like biting your eyebrows. And that is one of the things that they do. They're all over us all of the time. But why don't you tell us a little bit about, in summary, like what it's like to have a conure at home, what it's like to have a pineapple green cheek conure specifically, because you have experience with that, and maybe describe being in like 3 words.
Okay. All right, we'll do so Bean. Actually, no, we'll just blanket this with any conure. Picture this. You have a 3-year-old kid that could fly and gets into anything. But he's
That has
only
to be supervised all the time.
yeah, they're only 2 ounces. So like if a pillow falls on them, they're done. So you gotta watch them all the time. They get into everything. So basically it's like you just work an 8-hour job. Guess what? You come home and you got another job. You're feathered kid.
Yeah,
So yeah, as
with
far as
dinosaur
being
tendencies.
yes, with dinosaur tendencies for sure. Um as far as Bean, he's since he was with me for so long, like just next to me during COVID, all that stuff. He has, like most conures, attachment issues. He's very clingy. So, say if he goes in his cage, I walk out of the room, he starts flock calling, like contact calling, trying to see me. So then I gotta say if I'm cooking, well, making cereal. I don't really cook that much. I stick my head out.
Pouring the milk in the bowl.
Yeah, just pouring the milk in the bowl. I'm like, hey man, like, and then he stops, or like if my wife is cooking and he needs to see her, so she's got to stop cooking, be like, Dean, I'm right here. Like it's a strenuous little bit. Sometimes it's stressful. Like you got to always weigh them because they could get sick, or it's a huge lifestyle change too. Pineapple conures, they're not as my cousin had a sun conure, and like Bean's not as loud as sun conure, but Bean gets pretty loud sometimes, and like he'll just start throwing words out during he's having a temper tantrum. He'll be like, "What are you doing? I love you," and then just melt and start screaming. Like
Anything
he,
to get the attention.
yeah, anything to get the attention, and then you come over, you take him out, you talk to him, put him back. That's not good enough. Now you need to give him a Nutriberry, and it's like, well, he can't have 8 a day. So he starts getting used to the Nutriberry. Be like, all right, if I flip out, I can get a Nutriberry. So then it comes down to you got to ignore him, not ignore him, but like don't pay attention to him. So he stops. Sometimes he doesn't stop because he wants a Nutriberry. It's a very fine line between like what they pick up and how they know they can get rewards. So you got to always be cognizant of that too.
Yeah,
And
they're constantly learning.
yeah,
And
it's
if
tough.
we teach them the wrong thing, then they'll learn that. Like, if I
Yep.
scream, then I'm going to get a Nutriberry. And that's not
Yeah.
always the best thing, but that's why we need to be so careful with, what we do and understanding their behaviors and
Yeah.
really getting to understand parrots because they are very different pets from, reptiles or like
Yeah.
fur babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And I just thought of the 3 words. It's good and bad. That's what does describe being definitely good and bad. But yeah, I mean the dogs out they just sleep all day. Like they just go outside, they play, they come in, they sleep all day. Bean, is like constant attention, always making sure everything's good, the food, this, that, and the other thing. He's eating like organic vegetables, like the dogs eat, like I don't even know, like dry food and beans. I'm like chopping vegetables and carrots and all this stuff, and he's like all the reals. Like they better than us. They better than
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You brought up a good point that I wanted to chat about. So you said that you got Bean right before COVID hit, and then you were working from home. So you were with him like 10 hours a day out of the cage. And so he probably got used to that. So
yeah.
nowadays, are you still working from home or do you commute to work?
No, I go to work. However, my wife is home. So not the same, but someone's at least in the house. I don't Bean is like hit or miss with her. So like he could attack her or he could love her. And so
Mm.
he's still like we have a massive cage. It's like 7 feet by like 5 feet. It's huge. And like
Yeah.
he stays so like yeah, there was an adjustment period between him being out like 8 hours a day and then now, which he's got like 3 or 4 hours out of the cage. But we just moved into our house 4 months ago, and then we just got married last month. So like things have
Oh,
been wild.
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Things have been wild here. So we're still trying to go through like the perfect plan for being out of the cage, all that stuff. But now everything's calmed down. We can kind of come up with a plan. But yeah, the first few months have been insane. But he's still getting like 3 or 4 hours out of the day. That's to me personally, I want him out more, but until she feels comfortable with taking him out, then I just got to come up with something. So
So you are like Bean's person.
me
He's
and
the
my
most
mom,
attached to you.
yeah, me and my mom.
Okay.
So he goes over and sleeps over like his grandparents' house.
Oh,
And
so cute.
he, yeah, I always get videos. He's always acting up. So yeah, yeah, he has a really bougie life, you could say. So,
Well, it sounds like it because he has a massive cage and that's awesome.
yeah,
And I'm glad that you
yeah,
brought that up because that's another thing. You need to also be financially prepared when you get a
yeah,
bird because they need big cages, avian vet
totally.
visits. They need
Mm-hmm.
toys and they destroy those toys. So we have to buy new
Yep.
toys all the time and they constantly need to be enriched and they get bored even if they don't destroy everything. So we're
Yeah, yeah.
constantly buying things for them.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like,
We
it's
work to
funny you
pay
say
for
that.
their great
Yeah,
lifestyle.
exactly. That's literally what it is. Basically having a kid. Yeah, like you spend $20 on like a cool shreddable toy. Bean won't touch it, but I give him a bottle cap and it's the best thing in the world. It's like, come on. Like you gotta find what they like too, because bird toys are expensive, even though they get destroyed. They're still like I like to go with the handmade toys. I like little like mom and pop, I guess, toy makers, and I always love supporting them. So I'll buy the handmade toys and stuff. But it's like, you want to go? No. It's like that's a $20 toy, and it's gonna last what, like a week and a half, and it definitely gets expensive for sure. Bean's cage was a lot. All of his food, all the fruits, the vegetables, like that all adds up.
Yeah.
So if and putting them just on a strictly like a seed diet that you get at the pet shop, like that's bad for them too. So they have to have the vegetables, they have to have the greens, they have to have the microgreens, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
going to the supermarket, that's not cheap. We were just adding it up the other day. I was like, oh my goodness. Like I have a Snicker bar that's like $1, and Bean has all this stuff that's you gotta make a budget, definitely.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that comes with having a conure. I had to switch my headband because the other one keeps sliding. I'm like, this is driving me nuts. Um, so you brought up a couple of different points that I did want to touch on, and one of them is going back to diet. So you did mention that Bean loves Nutriberries, and I've seen on Instagram that he has an obsession with
Yeah.
Nutriberries. So how did you discover what Bean's favorite treats are? Just for anybody
Uh,
who's listening and is
yeah,
like, how
yeah.
do I find that high value reward that's going to get
Mhm.
my bird to do training or give them that positive reinforcement? How did you figure out Nutriberries are number one?
Okay. Well, first shout out to Nutriberries. They hook Bean up all the time. So thanks, Nutriberries. Little. So this is what happened. So there's two treats that he absolutely loves. It's like I don't even know. It might Katie. I don't know what it's called, but it's the little toppers. It's the little like fruit
Is it the
toppers.
Katie brand that you
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Katie,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's how Bean learned how to spin because I had all these treats, like the popcorn Nutriberries, the so many different treats. I just bought a bunch, and I would
Nuts,
just
seeds,
yeah, yeah. I
all of
bought
it.
all that stuff, and when I try to make him spin, and I give him a different treat every time, and then sometimes he wouldn't even touch it, and then he just liked the toppers, and I gave him a Nutriberry, only the normal Nutriberries though. He does not like any other Nutriberries. And he just
Interesting.
yeah, it's so weird. He like I can give you stories for days with the it's on a side note, it's really hard when someone sends you like a treat and they're like, "Can you like do a video?" and Bean doesn't like the treat because I don't want to be like, yeah, Bean
Yeah.
doesn't like the treat, and I still got to make the video. So sometimes I'll do a quick cut and like there'll be a Nutriberry in there or something, and then Bean will like go in to eat it and I'll cut it again so it looks like he's eating the treat or something because I feel bad, people want to take the time out to send me things and Mr. Prima Donna over here doesn't want to eat it or doesn't like
Yeah.
it. So I'm like,
I know, but they have their
yeah,
preferences too. Like
they
we
do
like
have their
certain
preferences. Yeah,
fruits, foods, veggies, and so
yep,
do they. There are certain
yeah,
fruits and veggies that Mia likes and certain ones that she doesn't like. And even
yeah,
on the topic of Nutriberries, like she likes Nutriberries, and for her, it doesn't really matter the flavor, but she doesn't eat the whole thing. She'll nibble on it a little bit, and
hmm
then she's like, okay, I'm done. She much prefers like
yeah,
a walnut or a pine nut or like a bite out of my banana or something like that.
yeah. Bean will only like eat nuts if I like open up the shell or something. Like it's so bizarre. Like I like even with peas, I had to take off the shell so he could eat the inside. Like if that
Oh
doesn't describe being
gosh.
a parrot owner, I don't even know what does. Like it's just like
So spoiled.
you gotta sometimes go the extra mile. But a quick story about like Bean not liking treats. So one of my videos, Nutriberries reached out and they're like, "Can you do?" No one ever heard the story before. So, Nutriberries, if you're listening, I'm sorry about this story. So they're like, "Can you do the 50th anniversary?" Like, yeah, I would love to. That would be amazing. So, like, I don't know if you saw them. They sent like a gold tin. Have you ever seen those? Like the
Yeah, I
banana.
actually bought
Okay.
them for Mia for Christmas, but we didn't
Okay.
get the popcorn flavor. We got the banana flavor.
Yeah. Okay. So they sent me the banana one. So it was like the dry run. I was like, gave him one, and he just took it and threw it, and I'm like, oh no. So, so I was like, all right, we got like a week. We'll work on them, whatever. Every day, give it to him. He'll look at it, not touch it. No, this is not good. Like I was the one that was breaking the news. I was like, I got to come up with something good for this video, and like
Oh
they
no.
trust me to do this video. So
The problems of a bird influencer parent.
yeah, exactly. So we were doing our house walkthrough that day that the video was due, and I totally forgot because like there was problems with like the walkthrough, whatever. So I come home and my dad's like, "Did you do the video for Bean?" I was like, "Oh no, no, I didn't." So well, he's not gonna eat like a banana Nutriberry. So I filled the container with regular Nutriberries. And if you watch my video, Bean goes in and grabs it and runs behind me. That was a regular Nutriberry. Sorry, Nutriberries.
Oh
But
my
but I
gosh.
had to get the
The
video done.
secret is out. We know
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm sure that the
Yeah.
Nutriberries are still delicious. And I've heard of humans trying the Nutriberries and also saying this is crunchy and delicious.
Yeah,
But
they
Bean
smell
just has
good.
his preference.
He does. And a lot of people commented that they were going to buy the Nutriberries. I think the ad went out perfect, and I think that everyone benefited from it. And yeah, it was fun. I That was cool. I like doing videos for people that like let me and Bean do our own thing. Like not like you got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. Because like I don't know, we kind of try to film like funny videos. So
Yeah, you need to have that
yeah,
creative freedom. And I think that that's
exactly.
important, especially on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah, totally. We try to carve out our own niche, definitely.
Yeah. Um, so you were also telling us about how you discovered that Bean loves Nutriberries. So to find out his like favorite treats, did you lay out all of the different options on like a table and like let him go nuts and see what he liked?
That's a good idea. I should do that video on that. No, I didn't. I didn't. Every other day, I would just give him a new one, and then like he would. So the Nutriberries, he immediately took it from my hand. Right. The other ones, like he'd look, he'd pick at it, and he'd leave it alone. So if he took it from my hand, I was like, all right, he definitely likes that. So yeah, over the course of like a month, I would every other day I'd give him a new one, and some he'd touch, some he wouldn't, some he'd throw, some he'd
Mm.
pick out like the little mango pieces in the Nutriberries. Doesn't matter the Nutriberry, he'll still pull those out. So
I love
yeah.
mango. I would be literally
Yeah.
pulling out the mango to have the mango.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he definitely has it. He loves mango. Yeah. So it was a lot of bags. I felt bad like wasting them, but he's not gonna eat them, so I had to throw them out. But yeah, he that's how we tested. He'd be on his like play gym or in his cage, I'd give him one. If he didn't like it, on to the next.
Yeah, and I think it's also something that comes with time. You figure out what your bird likes and what they don't like.
Yeah.
So how many Nutriberries a week or a day does Bean get?
All right. So this is what we do now. All right. When he's at his grandparents' house, all bets are off. And I'm sorry for anyone that's like crazy with the bird health. Sometimes you just got to act up a little bit. And it's the grandparents' house, you know, they give him some Nutriberries. But
The grandparents
nah,
spoil them, but when they're home,
yeah,
it's all
yeah,
veggies.
it's all veggies. So we wake up and I give him a little piece of a Nutriberry and he's eating in this
For
cage.
breakfast.
So he has one in the morning and he has one for like during dinner and then he has one at night right before bed.
That's a lot of
And sometimes
Nutriberries.
I know it is,
No wonder
but on
he
the
gets a sugar rush. Like
yeah, he
that
goes a little
Mountain
crazy.
Dew
Yeah, the Mountain
reel
Dew
that you
video.
posted.
Yeah, yeah. So to counter that, that boy has to fly a lot. So and you know what? I try not to give him three. Usually, sometimes it's one in the morning and one at night. But I also most of them aren't whole Nutriberries.
That was a poop.
So yeah, that was a poop.
At least
Um,
in the Nutriberries, there's also like pellets and like some other
yeah,
good stuff in there for them.
yeah. They
Um,
sent the Nutriberry pellets. They're pretty cool. But he loves tops, the tops pellets.
oh yeah, those are really
Yeah,
good. Mia
yeah.
also really
So
enjoys Tops pellets, but she also really loves the Harrison's pellets. And she used to
hmm
love the original ones, but then I introduced her to the spicy pepper ones because I
oh
wanted
yeah, I
her
saw
to have
those.
a variety. I had spoken with Courtney from Flock Talks, and she made a
Hmm
really good point about how, like, what if a pellet gets recalled or they stop producing it or something happens or you can't get it, then you want to
Yeah.
make sure that your bird can still eat pellets that are good
Yep.
quality. So I was like, I'm going to introduce the other ones to her and make sure that she's always got tops as well. So she eats both, but she prefers now the Harrison's spicy pepper pellets and the original ones. She's like, what is this? Give me the
Yeah,
spicy
yeah.
stuff.
What is this peasant? Yeah. So, do you find with the pellets? Do you find a lot of like they waste a lot? Because Bean, oh man, I feel like even with the Harrisons, because Bean always ate the Harrisons before the tops, and there's a big pile at the bottom of his cage.
Of like the powder.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so Mia does the same thing because the way that their beaks work and they crunch it, like a lot of it powderizes and then they get some of it in there. I don't know the
hmm
exact like biology of how it works, but I recently did a first aid course on parrots and they were kind of
Oh, nice.
explaining how it works and how it goes like down their throats. So that's why they also waste a lot because they like crunch up and swallow a bit of it and then the rest of it kind of like powders.
Gotcha.
But there's ways that you can repurpose the powdered pellets. So whenever I make like Mia a kebab, like on those metal skewers, the stainless steel ones, I'll put like fruit or veggies and roll it in the pellet powder that she's crunched away on.
That's a good idea.
Or I've seen where you can make your bird an omelet in like a non-stick safe pan or
Hmm.
pot. And you can make them an omelet and put in the powdered pellets because they love eggs. I've never met a parrot that doesn't love eggs.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
you
Bean
could put
loves
it in
eggs.
there, and then that's a way to repurpose those pellets. But yeah, there's a lot of powder that comes from those pellets, but you can always reuse it.
That's a good idea. And that's funny you mention that because Bean now dips his fruit in the pellet dust in his big cage.
See, he loves it. You could
He's a
also
little
take it
chef.
and like sprinkle it on his chop in the morning
That's a
or
good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
anything that it'll kind of like stick to.
That's a good idea. Thanks for
Mia
that.
also
Didn't
has
even think of that.
I get her these like biscuits. They're like bird biscuits, but they're made out of egg.
Hmm.
And sometimes I wet them because then they get soft and she really loves them, sometimes crunchy, sometimes when they're soft. And when they're wet, the powder will stick to them as well. So that's another thing. Anything that's going to be like wet or sticky that the powder can stick to, then that's a way to repurpose those pellets. So you get more bang for
Cool.
your buck and they get more
Yeah.
nutrition in their little bodies.
All right, Bean, you're gonna get healthier.
Since we're talking on the topic of diet and food, I know that now we know that Bean really loves Nutriberries. He's an addict.
Don't try
But
this at home.
what else does he eat throughout the day? I know you mentioned fruits and veggies, so tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about his diet.
Yeah. So if for breakfast, he loves blueberries. Like blueberries are probably next to Nutriberries. So
Yeah, Mia
he has a
also loves
nice,
blueberries.
yeah, yeah. Blueberries. Those are like the safest too. Like if I give him raspberries or any other berry, like it looks
It's a
like a murder.
massacre. Everything is
Yeah,
pink.
it is. Yeah, yeah. So blueberries, he has banana, apple. We switch it up. Sometimes we do a nice little fruit salad, a little one though, because he just had a Nutriberry, so you got to cut down on the sugar. And then he has his tops pellets. And then for lunch, he loves any kind of pepper, uh, radish, like the chickpea pasta. We do another chop of just like veggies. Maybe I'll throw a few apples in there. And then yeah, so then he has that, and then I usually keep the tops like in there too. So
Yeah.
then he dips the veggies in the dust, and he has that, and then for dinner, kind of like to go slow into because sometimes he doesn't eat all his food right away. Sometimes he has a late lunch, so maybe I'll give him a little more tops, but I don't want him to get like a little plump man. So
Well, with all
he
that sugar.
right he he has the veggies and that kind of stuff, and then he has this one Nutriberry for bedtime. So that's it. You
Yeah,
know
I
what's
think that the
crazy?
veggies are really important because
Oh
they
yeah,
provide them
totally.
with so many different like vitamins and minerals and fruits
Yeah,
too. But fruits, I think more in moderation, or at least for
yeah.
me, I give less fruit to her than veggies because of the sugar content.
Hmm.
And I know that like parrots in the wild, they eat a lot more fruit than our captive birds, but they're burning energy. They're like
Yeah.
foraging all day, they're flying all day and all this stuff. So yeah, but I find that conures have a sweet beak. They
Oh, totally.
love fruit.
Yeah, they love fruit. So yeah, we got to be like I usually cut up the blueberries and give him a little piece, like such a little breakfast because, like I said, he had a Nutriberry, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, his he eats all of it too. He's such a little piggy. He has so, but yeah, every the vet take him once a year, and yeah, he's a little healthy guy. But yeah, to your point of sugar, you know, that's how they can develop. I believe fatty liver or whatever, like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
bad, you know.
Obesity
So,
and all that
yep,
kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and being as like small it is as it is for a conure, so he, especially him, like everything in moderation because when I look at other Conyers, he's like okay, he's like smaller than everyone else. So
Well, he is a very lucky little green man.
he is a little green man.
So I want to talk a little bit about Bean's dancing because he is such a
Oh
great
yeah,
dancer
he
and
is.
I've seen
He
his
is.
dance moves, his famous head bob. So
Yeah,
when did Bean start like dancing? Like, did he just,
yeah,
you played a song and he was like just bobbing his head and rocking out and you're like, he's a dancing bird?
yeah. It was weird. Like he was on. So we have this. Let me get it. Ugh. I used to have this in my room against the window,
Mm-hmm.
and we were uh
Those
we were
window perches
listening.
are great.
Yeah, they are. We were listening to music, and all of a sudden he's just like, and I'm like, what? What is he
He's
doing?
a
And
dancing
then
bird.
yeah, yeah, and then he like does the foot thing when he like stomps. And it's like, and I'm like,
Oh my God.
no way. So I was like, all right, maybe that was a fluke. So then we turn it off, put it back on, and he's just like, it's like, okay, I don't know where he learned. I don't know where he learned this, but all right. And now, like, you could just like have anything in sort of like a song, and he'll start dancing. And
He's dancing right
yeah,
now. He's
yeah,
showing
he's
us.
such a ham. Be ready? That's a good man and a bad man. That's a green man and a bad guy. You dancing? Yeah, he's
Bean,
always
you're
dancing.
such a good dancer. Mia doesn't dance that much.
No.
She has to be like in the mood, and I have to be like singing some like song, like really upbeat, and then she'll like do the side to side,
Yeah. Oh, the
and she
side to
gets really
side. Yeah.
excited, but she doesn't do the head bop.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, Bean just picked it up. Everything, I don't know where he learned like half of the stuff he learned. It's really funny though. Like he picked up all the Blue Jay noises outside. So when they call, he'll start yelling at them, and I'm like, oh no, he hates the Blue Jays, but he always does their flock call when they're around. It's funny.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
Blue
yeah,
Jays.
yeah. Me too. So, but
Although
to
I
your
find
point,
that Blue
yeah.
Jays are quite rare to see. Do you see them a lot in your area?
Oh yeah, totally. But that's like a very common bird on Long Island for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What type of genre of music does Bean love the most, or whatever like his favorite songs to jam out to?
All right. So he loves Backstreet Boys.
Oh my God, me too.
Shout out to Nick
I
Carter.
want it that
Yeah.
way.
In basically like because I'm 32, so any like 90s music, like boy band 90s, so In Sync,
Oh
Backstreet
my
Boys.
gosh. Bean,
Yeah,
you and
yeah,
me would be friends.
yeah.
I love
All
music
that.
and I love the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That we were playing like
What about Spice Girls
he okay, so
or
my wife
90s
was
like
playing
hip
that.
hop?
Yeah. My wife was playing that. All right, so he likes Cameron. I don't know if do you know Cameron? The
Yeah,
Dipset? Yeah, he likes Cameron. He loves like Dean Martin. Yes, I don't
interesting.
know. Yes, he's because he's probably, Italian family making the sauce on Sunday and he hears
I love
it.
it.
So
Can he
but
say
yeah,
any
like
Italian words?
no, he all English and like random. Like I love you. He asks, "What am I doing?" all the time.
So
He says his
cute.
name. Yeah, when he says "I love you," like at night, like everything's dark and you just hear like "I love you." It's like, oh,
Oh my
Bean.
God, that is so heart melting. I would
Yeah, yeah.
literally like freak out.
Does Mia
Okay,
talk?
we're gonna pause on the music and I need to know, how
Okay.
did you teach him to say I love you?
I didn't teach him. Like it wasn't me. He just did it one day. When Bean is getting put to sleep because like he wants attention, he will just start saying
Anything.
sentences, anything. And I'm like, where did you learn that? Like he has to take a bath. I'm like, what? That's like advanced.
How
Come on.
cute.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
need to
yeah,
start
yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Take
But I didn't.
notes.
I guess my mom, like during the day, would always be like, "I love you, I love you, I love you." He's picked it up. He's like a little sponge though, and he'll pull out some crazy sentences when he's getting put to sleep.
Has
It's
he
crazy.
ever like used any swear words?
No bad
Oh,
words
good.
yet. No.
We don't want them to be a sponge for bad words. Could
No,
you
like,
imagine?
oh, I can't even. He would abuse that power.
And the
That's
worst part
funny.
is that we would laugh and they would be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm getting a reaction. I'm going to keep
Yep.
saying this."
Yeah, yeah. Like, to anyone listening, anything that your parent does bad, try to have no reaction, but it's usually really funny. So just like laugh, laugh internally.
Yeah. Or turn around, make sure that
Yeah,
they don't know because then they'll do it even more. They love reactions.
yeah. Like this AirPod, when he first ripped it out of my ear and took it and ran down the couch, I had a huge reaction. I was like, "What the heck, Bean?" So now it's like a game. Now it's take the AirPod, and run with it. He took my dad's earring
I
out
was
of
like,
his ear,
iPods, those
ran with
still
it.
exist?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Anything in the ear, he'll take out. So that's a little scary because small earrings, like he could choke on that. So that was
Yeah.
once, and that was really scary. And yeah, he ripped it out of like the prong was in the back, and he was so strong. He took the whole thing and booked it down the booked it down the couch.
Gosh, they're fast
Yeah,
too. They're
they
fast
are
on
really
those
fast.
little
Yeah,
feet.
yep.
But
Yeah,
even if
those little.
they're like fast running or walking, they can also fly. And they can
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
the top of the cabinet and then what? You're like
Yep.
getting a stool to get up there and then they fly somewhere else. So that's why
Yeah,
we have to be so careful with them.
they just like the most I like demeaning thing is like Beans up high, and he's just looking at me with this one eye,
I
just
love
like he
that.
can't get me, and then just takes off. Like, come on, man. But yeah,
They're smart.
they are really smart. 9 times out of 10, though, he's a good bird most of the time. But like anything, they have their moments. So
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask you because you were saying that he always like contact calls and he's super
yeah,
attached and like somebody always needs to be around, or like even if
yeah,
you're cooking, you need to go over to him and be like, "Hey,
mhm,
I'm here." Have you
yeah.
ever thought about like growing a flock or getting being a friend?
Okay, that's a loaded question.
Oh,
Definitely.
I love
So
it.
yeah, yeah. So we went to this one bird store, and this guy was like a famous, like he was on the news always with like a bunch of animals on the table, like they were going crazy. So like we went to his pet store, and it's not really a pet store anymore, it's like birds. And he had so many cute birds. One, not that Bean would be out with the cockatoo, but it was an umbrella cockatoo named Granny, and she was the most gentle, nice bird I've
Granny.
ever met. She was so cute, and she was just licking me, and I was like, "Oh, I love her." And it's in on Long Island. It's in Rockville Center, and like that's like a very like rich area. So I'm like, "How much is Granny?" It's like 5 grand. I was like, "Okay, all right, we're not gonna do.
That's an
We're not
outrageous
getting."
price.
Yeah, yeah, he's very expensive. Like Bean was like 650. His conures were probably like I don't even know, like 800. It was a lot.
That's
He
what I
was,
saw
and
them
like,
going for at PetSmart
yeah,
in
yeah.
Canada. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I feel so bad because no one is gonna
Yeah, and then the budgies
buy them
next to them
together.
are $40. So
Yeah,
people are going to go in getting a bird and the conures are going to end up being there forever before
ever.
someone's like, "Yeah, I'm going to spend $800."
Yeah, and most of the time, that's like it's a bit. At the end of the day, like a lot of places do care about the birds, but like there or the, I don't know. I feel like that guy, like, so these kids, they a cock, they were holding them, and the kid's like, I've never had a bird before, but I'm about to drop 3 grand and buy him. I'm like, dude, that bird has no chance. Like, that's terrible. And he didn't
Yeah,
like question the people, like how, like what's
how to
your
care
house
for
life like,
them, what you
how to
need to
care for
get for
them.
them.
You know, are you going to stop using Febreze? Are you going to stop using this, that? He didn't ask him any of those questions. And he's just like, all right, 3 grand. I just put it in my pocket. And I felt so bad for the bird. Like, it's a really cute bird. And like,
This was
that's
Granny.
that's the problem. No, no, so Granny's cage is right next to all the cocks, and
Oh, this was a
they
conure.
were, yeah, I forgot. I don't even know what they're called. Caulk, like the ones that hop.
It was a macaw?
No, the hold on.
The
Can you put
hopping
pictures in
ones.
here? The like It's like Caiuque or
Oh, the
something.
cakes.
Yo, is that
Hacks?
what they're called? They're called yeah,
I
yeah,
I
those.
don't know what to call them. I'm always like, how do you say that? The cake?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. So those guys, the one with like the yellow head, he was
Yeah.
okay,
Oh.
acting up. Yeah. So I feel like money making for that guy, like you should have asked questions. Like when I got Bean, they were like quizzing me hard, and
Yeah.
I'm like, we come from a bird family, like we know what to do. But yeah, and then the kid has no idea what he's getting himself into, and say he starts yelling, and then it's like, oh, gonna put the sheet over him, and then it's the worst life ever for the bird, you know.
Yeah.
And then it starts
Yeah.
plucking, and then you see it. It's sad. It's really sad.
I know. I wish we could save all the birds. It's
Me
so
too. It's
difficult because there's no way to really like control the bird trade and like these pet
no.
stores selling birds. And I think that's why a lot of people also advocate for adopting because a lot of
Yeah,
people get
yeah.
birds from these
Yep.
places or unethical breeders. They don't know what
Mhm.
they're getting themselves into. They didn't do any research. They weren't given any information. And
Yep.
then once the bird starts biting or having behavioral issues or plucking or screaming, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to control it. And a lot of the times they just want a quick fix. Like they'll,
Yeah.
send someone like me or you a DM and expect
Mhm.
us to solve their problems with one
Yeah, yeah.
reply. And I'm like, it
Yep.
doesn't work this way. You need to do your
It's not.
research. Maybe you need to book a consultation with like a bird
Yeah,
behaviorist
yeah, totally.
because there's a lot to them.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot to them, and, it's just I can't like you said, you can't tell everything in one reply. People were DMing me this morning, like, "My bird is nippy, what do I do?" It's like, that is such a loaded question.
Yeah.
We gotta start at the beginning, like, what's the diet like, and let's move past that, like so it's tough when people try to consult, like, if anyone asks me questions that are even remotely out of my wheelhouse, I'm like, go to the Green Birdie Brigade, someone like that, ask them the question. They do that they consult for a job, and you'll get good answers because I'm not going to give someone a wrong answer, and have the
Yeah.
bird suffer. So
Yeah, absolutely. And when we got Mia, actually, went to a really good breeder. I did my research. It was also important for me to have all of her paperwork and all that stuff because we are living abroad and
yeah,
in case we do travel. And the breeder like asked me questions like, do I know what I'm getting myself into? Have I ever had birds before? And we had Mango, our son Conure. So I was very familiar with having a conure and having birds. And she also sent us over like all these PDFs of like diet, what kinds of perches are okay, which ones are not okay,
yeah,
what types of
yeah,
toys are okay, which ones are not okay. And I think that anybody who's listening, like those are all signs that you're dealing with somebody who really cares about their birds and wants them to go to good homes. And those are all good signs. And if you get no information or they have really outrageous prices, those are
yeah,
kind of red flags.
yeah, yeah, totally. Uh, and always know to anyone listening, it is a complete lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Like throw out all those nonstick pans, throw out all your little Febreze things that you plug into the wall, the scent
Yeah.
things, everything out. Like you, even hair dryers that have the Teflon in it. Guess
Yeah.
what? Throwing it out,
Yeah. You
or
have to
yeah,
pay
it's
attention
crazy.
to every little thing.
Yeah, yeah,
You have to be aware of all of these different things. And that's why it's important to do that research
yeah,
because you can't do enough research. You're constantly going to be learning every podcast,
mm-hmm,
every video, every
yeah,
blog. You're going to learn, but you also have to be really aware of the information because there's a lot of misinformation out there too. And there's a lot of people who are sharing information about birds and bird care that is inaccurate or wrong.
yeah,
And so you just have to really filter through that information and find, people who are sharing bird content that you're like, oh, this aligns with a lot of the other people that I trust or, the
mm-hmm,
good information.
yeah, totally. Like I actually censored the comments on Bean stuff because I was getting outrageous misinformation, crazy. And I'm like, if anyone, first of all, I wanted to like respond back and say some stuff back, but at the time Instagram was like giving us a kickback for every time we post. Like it was like a program. So I'm like, well, I don't want to ruin that because it's an extra, a few $100 every month. But it was the fact that they could say that, and then if I said anything back, they'd start a war, and it was always wrong things. Like someone followed me yesterday to tell me, like, I don't want to out them too much because I don't want to start a war, but it was basically like you're making him dance, and like I'm sobbing because of that. And it's like I'm not forcing him to dance. He literally just dances. Like, watch, like Bean, you want to dance? That's a good man and a bad man. Like, yeah, he's being
Yeah,
forced.
I
Like,
think that not everybody just understands, like,
yeah,
they're seeing short clips, but they don't know what
yeah,
it's like to live with your bird and, like,
yeah.
have your bird at home.
Or my favorite thing is like release them into the wild. It's like, yeah, him who sleeps in my sleeve is gonna do well in the wild. Like,
Yeah. I
I have
think
to, yeah,
a lot
it's
of
crazy.
people who don't know like the reality of having a pet bird, they'll leave these comments or these DMs. But it's really important for us to note that captive bred birds, like the birds that we have at home, they wouldn't survive in the wild. If
Oh,
we let them out, like they're so brightly colored, they're small, they have adapted to living in a home with humans that they would die very quickly. They don't know how to find food, how to forage for food. There's tons of
yeah,
predators. And
mm-hmm,
we also live in climates where they wouldn't survive. Like come winter,
yeah,
it's going to be too cold for them. They come from
yep,
like South America and tropical climates. So releasing them in the wild is not the answer. I've also heard
yeah,
of people that have gone into, or someone has told me that they saw somebody go into a pet store and ask, how much for all these birds? I want to buy them and release them outside.
that's
Well,
insane.
that is really silly because that is a
Yeah,
death sentence for all of those birds. What they
yep,
need is a good home. And the
yeah,
reality is
totally.
that nowadays people have made parrots pets, and all we can do is learn as much about them as possible and make sure that as many of them as possible are in good homes that have like a good diet, enrichment, and
Yeah,
love
yeah,
and
yeah,
care.
yeah. We're gonna give them the best life they can. They cannot stay outside.
Yeah.
It just doesn't even make any sense when people comment that or like. So there was one point in time. So at the beginning of last year, I only had like 16,000 followers, and then we did a dancing video, and I'm not even kidding. I was getting 1,000 followers a day. It was insane, insane, and
That's
and I was
amazing.
yeah, it was crazy.
Mia,
Bean
do a
went
dancing
totally
video.
viral. Bean went totally viral on like two clips and totally shot everything up. And I was getting DMs from people sending me dead birds. Like it was nuts. It was crazy. I don't know. I'm very mixed on this because people they want to say things and they don't think there's any repercussions. Or like if you say something back, then it's like I'm the victim. And it's like, dude, you just sent me a dead bird. What do you? How do you think I'm gonna react? Or like
Yeah.
you're saying that I'm forcing Bean to do things and he should be outside. Like that is totally not true. Like at
Yeah.
that point, it's like
People
now you're
make such
attacking.
assumptions.
Yeah, assumptions, attacking character. Like, come on. Like, if you follow me for even a little bit, you would know what I mean. Like what being means to me and our relationship and how great he has it and how much I'm trying to give him to have like a really good life. And
Yeah.
once you say that, it just shoots everything down. It's like you do not know me. Like I bet you Bean is more healthy than the person commenting. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So
I
that's the
agree.
problem with this. Yeah, that's the problem with like social media and stuff. It gets a little crazy, especially with the in the bird world. So
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, you woke up from your nap? Do you see Bean? Can you
yeah, yeah.
share with everybody listening, like maybe a piece or two of misinformation that you've seen on social media or online about birds or bird care that you're like, that's not true?
Yeah. Well, all right. So the first thing is like this doesn't happen too much anymore, but for a time it was like what's the hottest new food? And everyone so it was like let's just use Harrison's. It was like Harrison's and then it was then someone finds something wrong with it and then they're like, "Oh, Harrison's is the worst food you can give your bird. And then it was like Tops, and then it was like Supreme. Like, that's crazy. And now I haven't seen that, but it was like for like 2 years ago. Like, it was nuts. It was like, so I even fell into the trap. I was like, oh, I gotta get Harrison's. And then I got Harrison's. And then I was like, oh my God, there's like whatever in here. So I gotta get Tops, and did that. And it was like that'll confuse a new bird owner for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so you gotta do your own research with that, people. And probably like when a lot that you shouldn't watch like your dogs and birds like if they're in the same room, like, oh, they'll get along, like that's wild. I was like, what the heck, are you kidding me?
No,
Like,
that's
when
super
no,
dangerous.
yeah. And like, you know how many birds get lost, like die because of that? It's
Yeah.
crazy. I never, if the dogs are out, Bean's in his cage. If Bean's out, the dogs are somewhere else. I would never, ever, 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 ever take that chance.
Yeah.
Or like, it's okay to have like Teflon if you move your bird and open the window. Absolutely not. No, 2 thumbs down.
Yeah.
Like, that they'll die. That's scary. And like, someone came to me, they're like, oh well, my bird's on an all seed diet. The pet store told me to do that. That is not good either. Like,
Yeah.
you got to diversify. You got to have the vegetables. You got to have the fruits. You got to have the microgreens, and maybe switch the pellets. It's Everything's good in moderation, but once you start giving the fatty seeds and everything for them to eat all the time, like that's so not healthy. Or like you don't have to take a bird to the vet. Well, it's just a bird. You don't have to take it to the vet. It's just a bird. I hate hearing that. It's just a bird. Oh, it's
Yeah.
just a bird. It's not just a bird. Like, it's so complex. They're so complex, and there's so many stages to this. And you have to do your research, and they got to come out of the cage, and they have to get exercise, and you have to weigh them. And it just goes back to doing your research with everything, because people are so ignorant in that respect that they don't they think that they know everything, and they'll just blurt some crazy thing out, like, oh well, I put my bird on my dog and just leave him and nothing ever happens. No, but that one time it can happen, and they
Yeah.
could just be playing and crush your bird or hurt it. And the bird doesn't deserve that, and you should be responsible as a pet owner, and make your make your time for each. And you should know this ahead of the game, that each animal that you have needs their time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a dog too. We have
Yeah.
Lambo, who's a toy poodle. He's small and he's grown up with birds and having conures, but we're always really careful and their interactions are always supervised. Like if Mia's out and Lambo's out, like I'm supervising them and I'm
Hmm.
making sure that I know where Mia is at all times, even though Lambo is really well trained and he's an angel. Honestly, I say this all the time because he is like
Cat the
literally
Lambo.
an angel in like a furry dog's body. He is
Yeah.
so good and so gentle
Yeah.
and so kind. But again, he's a dog and his instincts, what if they kick in one day
Hmm.
and he
Exactly.
wants to chase her or something? He's never done
Yeah.
that. But that's why I always talk about this, how it's important to always supervise when you have dogs and birds and cats are a whole different ball
Don't even get
game.
me
Like when
started
I
on that. That's
see birds
wild.
with cats, I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Because people are like, oh, they're fine. They're just playing. It's like, if their saliva gets on that bird,
that
they're
too.
going to either die or get so sick. Nonetheless, like, I'm not even talking about they can just eat them, but like, let's dig deeper. Like, the saliva is really bad. If they get it, and say if they bite them and they get the saliva in their like bloodstream, that's a wrap. If you don't take it to the vet, like, it's bad.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And you were also talking about the all seed diet, which I wanted to touch on. A lot of like pet stores
hmm.
will tell you that you just need to eat, or they just need to eat seeds, that having an all seed diet is fine. But that's how they then develop nutritional deficiencies, fatty
Yep.
liver,
Yep.
obesity, dull feathers, and all these different issues because they're not
Yeah.
getting the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals that they would get from vegetables and fruits. And I always tell people, you want to try and mimic the wild. Like, what do they eat in the wild? Read
Yeah.
studies, look things up, but all the birds that are eating tons of like veggies and some fruit and grains and a little bit of seeds and a little bit of nuts, then they're really healthy. And,
Yeah.
it really just takes a lot of research when you have a bird. But yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just need to filter through all of that and make sure you look at more than one source to really know, like, is this the best thing for my bird? And if there's ever something where you're like, I'm going to question that, or that
Yeah.
doesn't sound right to me, then it probably isn't right. And you need to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, totally. And anyone that's listening, if you want, just drop a DM. And if a question that I'm comfortable answering, I'll always answer it. And if not, I'll stay in the right direction. And I think that is a big part of the bird community that a lot of people do want to help.
Yeah.
So
We care about the birds.
yeah, we care about the birds. So yeah, yeah, always do your research.
In the beginning, you were also telling us about how Bean can sometimes get really loud and noisy. So I
Yeah.
know how loud Mia can get as a green cheek, and I know how loud sun conures can get. And sun conures
Hmm.
are definitely a lot louder. Like I would say double the loudness. But
Yeah.
do you find Bean is like really loud throughout the day, or is he only loud at certain times or at like sunrise and sunset? Do your neighbors know that you have a bird?
All right. So during sunrise, like Bean's very funny when he wakes up. He doesn't call. All of a sudden, you'll hear when I know I have to get him. He'll go tapping on the
Cute.
side of his cage.
How
Yeah.
polite.
Yep. He's very polite. So I go, I get him. He doesn't yell. Sometimes during the day, if he sees the blue jays, you don't like them. If he sees the deer in the front yard, when deer are in the front yard, he'll yell. The kid's playing hockey next to me, he'll yell. Other than that, he's very quiet. He does like this ribbit noise. I don't know where he learned that. Throughout the day, sometimes like he'll bob just to like I don't know. I don't know why he's doing that, but that's like if someone's in the room, maybe to get attention, or he's just acting up. But the only time he's insane, like his bewitching hour, when I come home from work. I open the door,
He's so
he starts,
excited.
yeah, he starts going off. If you're out, I'm outside, like parking my car, I'll hear him. So the neighbors may know, but whatever. Um, but yeah, I'll pull up. He'll hear my car. He'll start going off. The dog will start going off. Walk in. He's still going off. And once we sit down for dinner, he'll go over and start eating too. So everyone's eating together. And then he's quiet for the rest of the night. But when he wants to be loud, he'll get loud, and you can hear him from outside of the house. But he's quiet for most of the time.
Yeah, I find that with Mia too. She definitely makes some chirps in the morning when she's like, "Hello, I'm awake and I'm
Yeah,
ready.
get
So you
me.
need to get up."
Yeah.
But she especially gets loud if she's having FOMO. When she has FOMO, she's
Mm.
like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I need to be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that our neighbors know. And when she's going to bed, I don't know if Bean does this too, but she's like loud. She like needs to get out all of her loudness as she's going to bed and then she quiets down.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you can hear her in the parking lot. And I'm like, oh my
That's
gosh.
funny.
So
Yeah.
definitely everybody knows that we have a bird.
Has anyone said anything or no?
No, no one's
Oh,
ever
that's
said
good.
anything to us. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
because
don't even know who
I
actually knows.
yeah. Because I see on like Reddit sometimes that's like, oh, like my HOA, they complained and I got to get rid of the bird because they're gonna fine us. Like that is terrible. I wouldn't even know what to do. But
Yeah,
if
I
that
I
if that
hear I get
happens,
that comment actually a lot on
yeah,
YouTube is I don't really want to get a bird, but I don't know if I should because I live in an apartment. and I don't want to get kicked out or have
Yeah.
to get rid of the bird because I'm going to fall in love with them. And I always tell them, like, you really just need to do your research. I know that there's a lot of people that would say, like, who cares what your neighbors think? But if you do have a landlord or that type of
Yeah, yeah.
situation, then it is something that you need to consider.
Yeah, totally. My neighbors are pretty cool. But there is on one side of me, they would definitely say something. Like, say if we were in like an apartment, they're the type of people that would definitely say something. But nah, since we have like so we're on a half an acre. So we have some space between each neighbor. So they won't say anything, I hope. That would be crazy if they did. But yeah,
Maybe if
yeah,
you had a
so
sun conure or a Gende conure,
yeah, right? They would
because they
definitely
get
say
really
something.
loud. I actually think Gendes, was it Gendes possibly, are like the loudest.
Really?
But I'm sure that like a macaw or an African gray could make a significant amount of noise too, if
Yeah,
they
yeah,
wanted
because
to.
they made a so one of our pit bulls is deaf. So like
Oh,
she's a little crazy, and they got attacked at the dog park when they were puppies, so they're a little scared of like dogs. So we were in the backyard, and there's this big Rottweiler behind us, and the Rottweiler like through the fence like tried to like start, and our neighbors were like yelling like, "Ah, oh, your dogs are not, you're not, you don't take care of your dogs." All this, we're like, "What?" It was like that's what like they started it, and she's deaf. Like she doesn't know what she's scared. They got attacked. Like yeah, they were barking, but they came over like rang the ring, and I was watching it. And she's like, ah, and walked off. I was like, come on, man. So so
people.
uh yeah, people. So they would definitely say something if it got loud, I think. But
Well, on
luckily,
the
Venus manners.
on the topic of
So
loudness, birds are loud pets.
yeah, yeah,
They
they
can
are.
be.
Yeah, yeah.
And now that she's awake from her nap, she's so rowdy. She's like, I need to be everywhere and all over you. What's going on?
Yeah, she's
Um,
acting up.
I actually had a question from a podcast listener, and I was hoping
Yeah.
that together we could shed some tips on this.
Okay.
So they said, hi, just wanted to say I love your podcast content. I was wondering if you could give some advice on helping your bird get used to daylight savings. This is my first autumn with my green cheek conure, and they are not loving the time change. By 5 p.m., they are ready for bed, even though they wake up at 8 a.m. Any suggestions without triggering hormones would be greatly appreciated. So Mia
Hmm.
goes to bed for 12 to 13 hours every night, and I usually put her to bed from 9 to 9. That's our routine, so that I don't have to get her up super early in the morning. What's your routine like, and what would be your tips? I'll let you go
All right.
first.
So Bean goes to sleep at 8, and then I would say he wakes up at like 7:30. So it's like 11 and a half. That's if I don't have to wake him up, then he sleeps later. But he so that's what we do. So there's a wind down stage of him. We're just chilling. We come into the office, we hang out. He's cool. She puts the dogs to sleep. I roll Bean into his room. I give him this little piece of Nutriberry. Then he goes to sleep. And that's been the way since we got him. So he is in a huge routine. As far as daylight savings time, I never really even thought of that. He's never really. He's always like. I guess because we started when he was 4 months. He's never really like fought us on that. What I would do though, if I was probably experiencing some negative reactions to daylight savings time, I would definitely plan like say like 2-3 weeks before. I would start winding down how you would do it during daylight savings time. I would start before that, like so the following year. So they would get into the routine of daylight savings time, and then once you like run the simulation so much, it's basically just all right. It's time to go to sleep. I've never really dealt with that. I would start I'd make a routine like a month before, and then I'd start going into it gradually because they are creatures of habit for sure.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that that's a really good point, is starting beforehand. And I think
Yeah.
the other thing that I would do is just like increase light exposure so that they're like, here it's been getting dark like 3:30, the sun is starting to set. So that's when I turn on the lights. I also have like one of those bird lamps above her cage. So I'll
Oh,
turn
okay.
that on so that she has more of that light exposure and she's not like, oh, it's dark, it's time to go to
Hmm.
sleep. So I think
Yeah,
that the light exposure is also really important. I like the
that's a good
point that
idea.
you made, like start earlier,
Yeah.
anticipating that daylight savings is coming. And I think the other thing that I would do is maybe like even adjust the feeding schedule. Like if you give them dinner at a certain time, give it like, 15 minutes later every single
Yeah.
day to
Yeah.
kind of like get them to stay up longer. And I think that the
Hmm.
other thing that I would also incorporate is like maybe some evening activities, like create some enrichment or change things up on their tree stands or create some foraging fun and opportunities to keep them engaged and mentally stimulated so that they're awake for longer.
Yeah. 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 She's going
Um,
off.
yeah, she's just been climbing all over me. um, Now, another thing that I wanted to chat about, and then we'll start to wrap things up. So I know that Bean loves being held in your hand like an ice cream or a burrito, and Mia's
Yep.
the same way. And
Yeah.
I get this question all of the time. How did you get Mia to be comfortable in your hand? How do you hold your conure? How did you get her to do that? I want to hold my bird too. I want to hold my conure, but they're always biting. So let's share with everybody some tips and also a little bit of insight on how not every bird is going to be want to held that way.
Yeah. Definitely not every bird's going to be held that way. And let's just make a point. If you're scritching, you're only scritching the head,
Yeah.
nothing in the back. When I first got Bean, I made that mistake, and he was like very hormonal. So
Yeah.
it's like even people that had parrots, all the stuff, like we said in the beginning, you're always learning. So yeah, that was like that was crazy. He was very hormonal. We're like, why is he doing this? And then we realized, because they're cute. You want to pet them, and only the head though, only the head.
Yeah. They're not
So
like dogs. Dogs, you can pet them all
no,
over. But
no.
birds,
So
only their head and neck. Otherwise, you're going to
yep,
stimulate their hormones, and you don't want to do that.
you don't want to do that. So how that happened, I don't know. Bean was nuts when we first got him. Like, he would come and just lay on his back and just fall asleep, like right next to me, and it was the cutest thing. So then it went to like, he'd sleep here, and then he'd sleep here, and then he'd sleep with my hand laying on the bottom. So I really didn't teach him anything. He just came over and did it himself.
He
And
was comfortable.
yeah, now it's, he walks over, he kneels down, and he taps on my leg, and then I just put my hand down and he rolls into it, and that's it. And I hold him. And then he goes to sleep. But yeah, as far as tips, certain birds are gonna want to, like, they're gonna have their preferences. Some birds might hate laying on their back, but yeah,
Or
you
being
just gotta
held.
let that. Yeah, yeah, you just gotta let them kind of dictate the speed at which if you do want to try to teach them, they have to dictate the speed on how fast they go. It's not going to be like, oh, all right, it's good. It's like, no, it's going to take a lot of time. Like, for example, when Bean learns tricks, like, now he picks them up quick, but when he first started, you had to go slow and with it. Like, even laying in the hand, sometimes he does bite me. Say if you hit a pin, say if you're scritching him, and he doesn't like it anymore, like, he'll bite me. So uh the bird definitely chooses, I would say, for sure, because
Yeah.
like I said, they all, full circle, all are different beans.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's also a good point that you made. We need to like respect their boundaries and go at their
Yeah.
pace.
Yep.
And whenever they do something that we like or that we want them to do, positive reinforcement, praise, treats are
Hmm.
always really helpful and help them understand I'm doing something that I get rewarded for. So if your
Yep.
goal is to hold them, and sometimes it is important to learn how to hold your bird, whether it's like in a towel or in your hand, because sometimes you need to check them or like,
Yeah.
husbandry type of things.
Hmm.
So I always suggest to people like start slow, like you were saying, but like, have your hand in front of them, make sure that they feel comfortable, reward them. And the closer your hand gets, as long as they're comfortable, then reward them. And then eventually you can have your hand like close to them and then closer and closer. And then you're touching their back. And then eventually you wrap your
Yep.
hand around. But when you're holding your bird, you never want to like hold them really tightly.
Yeah,
You
no,
always want
not
to
at
make
all.
sure that it's a light embrace so that they're not like constricted.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So the positive reinforcement, Bean has a skateboard and he was terrified of it. And and
He skateboards.
he's trying, we're getting there.
He's
And
officially my favorite pineapple conure.
yeah, he's a cool dude. So what he would do it was I'd have those little toppers and he'd go and I put the skateboard like, I don't know, like 10 inches from him, and he'd walk over and look at it. And if he made contact with his beak, I'd give him a treat. So then he'd realize, all right, this thing isn't so bad. So he'd hit it, and then though he learned that when he touches this thing, he gets a treat. So then I was like, all right, I gotta dial this back because he's gonna have treats all day. So we that's how you kind of to do things or at least accept some things is with the positive reinforcement. So now he can kind of get on the skateboard, but we're still we're still learning. So yeah.
I actually wanted to also ask you, how did you come up with the name Bean? Like, does he just love
Oh
beans?
well, no. So a lot of people ask me that, and it's like I wish I had a better story. So I was sitting in the pet store, and like we were like I love Jurassic Park. Like, oh, come here. Nope. Okay. Like I have like dinosaur tattoos. Like I have Bean on me. Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah, like all right, Bean on me. Like
wow, that's
yeah.
cute.
So we love dinosaurs. We were gonna name Bean Blue after the raptor in the new series, but I was like, he's not blue. Like he's not a blue. So I was just looking at him like Bean, and everyone was like Bean. Like, that's not a fun name. I'm like, no, it's gonna suit him. Watch, and like it's the perfect name for him. I have no idea why. It's just a really good name for him. And
And he
yeah,
responded
that
really well to it.
yeah, totally. Um, yeah, so Bean it was.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to ask you two more questions and then I'm going to ask you some fun questions about
Okay,
Bean
all
and
right.
then we'll wrap
Okay,
things up.
okay.
So, I want to know something that Bean does that melts your heart. We want to know from bird dads what melts your heart.
What melts my heart?
I know when he says I
Probably.
love you.
Oh well, yeah, that or like we're sitting. It'll be nighttime, and he's in my hand sleeping, and I'm like, this little guy trusts me so much. I just love him. Because a lot of people are like, well, you need so much trust with a bird because they won't let you do anything if they don't trust you. And like he'll let me do whatever. And like I'm just like this little guy is my best friend. Like he trusts me so much. So I would say sleeping in my hands or sleeping on my shoulder and just like getting close and like it's just like dad, like I'm next to you. I love you. So
Oh,
definitely when he's all fluffed up in my hand and like just like I know like all right, I'm doing a good job. He trusts me. It's paying off well. It's a very nice like reward that I could see this. So
that's so sweet. And you know
yeah,
what? Like for us, like we go to work and we run errands and we go grocery shopping and we're cooking or doing all these things. And our birds are like part of our world. But to our birds, we are their whole
yeah,
world, especially when you
exactly.
have one bird.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I because I never answered the flock question. I would.
Yeah.
I know this is gonna sound selfish. I would be so sad if Bean like kicked me to the curb and like if he got a little girlfriend. But with that, like I'm just starting saltwater aquariums like literally today. So I don't think I'll have any time to have two birds. Like he is my job 24 hours a day. I don't think I could do two. So and now with the saltwater aquarium, two dogs, we got a little zoo. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I've actually talked with other guests before about, when you grow your flock, and there's always a chance that the bird is not going to bond with the other bird,
That
but
too.
there's a chance that they will bond. But a lot of the times, even though they do bond, they don't stop loving you. Like I've
Yeah,
heard it
yeah, yeah.
from different, parents that they're
Hmm.
still bonded to you, but it's also nice for them to have like someone else that can understand them.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think
totally,
that it
totally.
really depends on each individual person and, what they can handle. I think the most important thing is that each bird has a good home.
Totally. Yeah, maybe eventually. We have talked about it, but right now, after just like moving in and stuff, we'll reevaluate this in a year.
Okay, so last question. If someone is considering on becoming a bird dad, what piece of advice would you give them? And what do you wish you knew when you first brought Bean home?
Okay, if you want a bird, I want you to take like 5 to 6 months and just read. And then I want you to, when you get home from work, I want you to just know, like, say if you go to bed at 10, guess what? At least like, I don't know, 2, 3 of those hours are gonna be. I want you to block those off because guess what? That's bird time because you were out all day. Um, and then after that, after those like 5 to 6 months, after blocking those hours off and budgeting the money, and if you're okay with it, then go to the pet store and just look at them and talk to people. And
Or
then
go to an adoption place or an ethical
or
breeder.
yeah, that too. Yeah. Just go somewhere where talk to the people that are going to give you the bird and then talk to us. And if that's okay after that like year, then go get a bird, because you don't want to make their life bad. You don't want your life to, you don't want to be stressed out because the bird's stressed out. So definitely do your research. And something I wish I knew, probably just how much time is consumed by like just like taking care of them, because when we had birds I was little, my mom was doing half of the stuff, so I really didn't know how much work it was. I knew that like it was a lot of work, but you're never, even if you do read all that stuff, you're never gonna know just like all the ups and downs and everything until you get your feet wet once you get the bird, because there's things like create like just Bean might have a meltdown and he's screaming for like 20 minutes. It's like, what do you do when you first get him? What do you do? It's like, I don't know what to do. So you learn that through experience. And yeah, sometimes you're just a little naive when you get the bird, but I guess I wish I did know just how much time is dedicated for a bird. You hear it, you read it, but you don't know until you get there. So
Yeah. It's so different, like watching videos and reading about it and then actually like doing it and having a bird.
yeah,
Very good
totally.
points. And let
Mhm.
everybody know how they can find you on social media.
All right. My account is at bean underscore the Conure. And yeah,
And you
we
guys are
make
on
funny videos.
Instagram. Are you on any other
Just
social media
Instagram.
platforms?
Just no, we're not. We're not on anything else, just Instagram. And yeah, we're looking to have fun and yeah, watch our
And
videos.
dance.
They're funny. And dance, yeah.
And eat all the Nutriberries.
And anyone that's listening, do not give your bird all those Nutriberries a day. We're kind of being off.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, I'm gonna let you go, but before we go, let's have some fun with Bean. I want to know
okay.
if Bean could talk and give advice, what do you think his top life tip would be?
Definitely train your parents to do whatever you want. Like 100%.
Bean did
Definitely.
that.
Yeah. For sure. Definitely that.
If Bean had a rap name, what would his rap name be?
Green man. Definitely.
Green Man. I love it.
Yeah.
And if Bean were a superhero, what do you think his superpower would be?
Oh, man.
I'm putting you on the
Probably like,
spot.
yeah, you are. This one's tough because like I would just want to go like he could sense Nutriberries anywhere, but that's like the obvious choice. Probably like he's really sneaky, so probably like going like invisible and yeah,
The
definitely
invisibility
going
cloak.
yeah, the invisibility cloak. Definitely.
What if Bean could choose a profession? What do you think he would choose?
Oh, a lawyer for sure. I'm always like negotiating with them, like, all right, you want to come? You want to do this? Definitely a big lawyer.
All right. Last one. When you put Bean to bed at night, what do you think he dreams about other than Nutriberries?
Getting scritches,
How to dominate
definitely.
the world.
Yeah, how to no, yeah, got that right. Yeah,
Bean, I'm starting
definitely.
to really get to know you.
Yeah, he's a handful, but I love him. He yeah, definitely like so there's like the duality of him like getting scritches and like yeah, dominating the world because a lot of my followers are like Beat runs the world. Like I always see that comment. So yeah, probably something like that.
Aw, Bean, you're so adorable. Well, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. It was so
Thanks for
awesome,
having me.
awesome to chat with you and Bean.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Parrot Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra from Poodles and Parrots. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the next episode. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I'm not a licensed avian vet, behaviorist, or professional in parrots. The information provided is not intended as a substitute for professional advice from a qualified avian vet, trainer, or behaviorist. Consult with a specialist for personalized guidance on your specific situation.